Um, Good morning. We'd like to call the meeting to order for the Oxnard City Council Finance and Governance Committee. The time is 9:33. I'll read the statement. This meeting is held pursuant to the State Emergency Services Act and the Governor's Emergency Declaration and the Governor's Executive Order N-29-20 to allow members of the City Council or staff to participate via teleconference. Pursuant to the Ventura County Public Health Officer's Order and Governor's Executive Order N-33-20, all city buildings are temporarily closed to the public. The public is encouraged to view the meeting from home on the city's website at oxnard.org/city-meetings, Spectrum Channel 10, Frontier Channel 35, or YouTube at youtube.com/Oxnard News. Video recordings are typically available online immediately following the meetings. The public may provide comments to the City Council via email at cityclerk@oxnard.org no later than 8 a.m. on the day of the meeting. Please identify the committee name, meeting date, and agenda item in the email subject line. A telephone option for public comments is also available at this time due to the state of California's quote, stay at home, end quote, order. Requests to speak must be submitted no later than 8 a.m. on the day of the meeting. Use the form on the city's website to submit your request, oxnard.org/city-meetings, or call the city clerk's office at 805-385-7803, or email your request to cityclerk@oxnard.org. With that, we'll take the roll call. And Madam Clerk, would you lead the pledge when we get to that point and the information about posting the agenda? Thank you.
Member Lopez.
Here.
Member Perello.
Here.
Chair Flynn will join us later. We have a quorum, and the agenda for this meeting was posted in the City Hall kiosk on Wednesday, November 18th. And if everyone would please rise. Please place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have a couple of public speakers on this item of public comment items not on the agenda. And one second, the Madam Clerk, gave me the information and it just got, okay, here it is. The first speaker is, and I have right off the bat, Jabbar Wolford, Jabbar Wolford, WOFFORD. The second speaker is Lawrence Stein. Are we contacting?
Yeah, we're attempting the call now.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I don't think it's being received.
Okay, we'll try Mr. Stein, and if we can't get the individual, we'll give him one shot at the end of the meeting.
Okay. Hi, Larry. You have 2 minutes for items not on the agenda. Please begin. Larry?
Yes, my name's Larry Stein. My phone number is 805-824-496. The reason why I'm speaking tonight for today is I've noticed that staff has not recommended any monies for the appropriation of park improvements. As you are aware, the park master plan has been posted on the city's website for over a month. The city's website does not indicate that the city is going to appropriate any money for College Park master plan, even though the College Park master plan is asking for at least $60 million. Or I like an item placed on the agenda to discuss the amount of financing necessary for College Park in rough numbers. We need somewhere between $40 to $60 million, and not a dime has been appropriated yet. So I recommend that this committee discuss the amount of money needed for College Park master plan in rough numbers, and at least start the process of appropriating monies for these funds. I estimate at least $12 million a year will be needed to reach the $60 million mark in 5 years. Also point out that the issue of finance and cleanup of Halico has not been discussed. The communications I've seen, there's been no money allocated in the last 25 plus years for cleanup of Halico, even though this has been a concern for many residents of the city. Ormond Beach is adjacent to the Halico site, a public beach where people go into this beach can expose to radioactivity. Again, there's been no discussion by this committee or other committees as to the extent of radioactivity coming from Halico and the preparedness to clean up this particular site. Again, the items that need to be discussed and placed on the agenda, A, is funding for the College Park master plan and the cleanup of Halico, which in and of itself is part of the College Park, part of the Park master plan, as well as the general funding for Park master plan. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Do you want to give a second shot at this first speaker right now? Or
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want to say his name again in case he's listening?
Wolford, Mr. Wolford. First name, I believe, is Jabbar Wolford. Mr. Wolford, we've tried to get on you the first time before the second speaker, Mr. Stein, spoke. We're trying again. We'll give you one last shot at the end before the meeting is called and adjourned. If not, we're doing the best that we can. And no luck.
It looks like it's, it's still pending. It doesn't fail until it tells me that it's, the call's not going through. So,
Okay.
I mean, technically there's still the opportunity for him to join if. Okay, now it's failed.
Okay. Thank you very much for trying. And as I said, we'll give him one shot at the very end of the meeting. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. I do not see any indication for anyone wishing to speak on the consent agenda, and it is one item only, the approval of the minutes. Have the members of the committee had an opportunity to review them, and do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I'll move to approve the minutes.
And I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Member Lopez.
Yes.
Member Pello.
Yes.
The motion carries 2-0.
Thank you. Moving on to item D1, reports. Billing and Licensing Department. The subject, agreement with Evalon for credit card merchant services. The recommendation, as identified, that the Finance and Governance Committee recommend to the City Council that the Finance and Governance Committee recommend the City Council ratify the 3-year agreement A-8268 for over-the-counter non-utility payments, A-8269 for over-the-counter utility payments and A-8270 for online payments between Evalon Inc. and the city of Oxnard for credit card merchant services in the amount of $954,000. It appears Eden Amelia is going to be making a presentation, but I'm not sure. So please, staff, please take it away.
Yes, Chair Perello, the head of the Department of Billing and Licensing, Eden Alamiri, she's going to be she's been leading this process, so I'm going to turn it over to her for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Klima.
Thank you. Good morning, Acting Committee Chair Perello and Committee Member
Good morning.
Lopez. I'm here to present to you the report on agreements with Elavon for credit card merchant services. In late July 2020, our current enterprise resource planning provider, Central Square, notified our IT department that their product called Transaction Manager will be sunsetting on December 31st, 2020. Currently, Transaction Manager serves as our gateway and Bank of America as our processor or merchant. When our customer pay with a credit card, the gateway receives and sends the transaction to the processor. The processor then receives the transaction and sends them over to the issuing credit card provider or to the issuing bank to check for availability of fund. If available fund is verified, then the process is pushed for completion. Currently, there are 3 types of payments the Transaction Manager accepts for the city of Oxnard. The first one is the online payment for utilities. Second is the over-the-counter payment for utilities. And third is the over-the-counter payment for non-utilities. For Central Square, the implementation period could take up to 60 days. Hence, the urgency for finding a replacement for a Transaction Manager. Currently, the credit card payments that the city receives annually are as follows. Online utility payments, approximately $24 million a year. Over-the-counter utility payments, $24 million a year. And over-the-counter non-utility payments, approximately $18 million a year. Central Square recommended to replace both gateway and processor with a product called Paya. We created a team composed of members from the IT department, Raja Bamrongpong, Mike Schaefer, and from City Manager's Office, Horst Farr, and from the Department of Billing and Licensing, Martha Guerra and myself. The team conducted a research for viable candidates, and that research yielded another option, which is Paymentus as gateway and Elavon as the processor. Of course, there are many other options, but the team feels that these 2 candidates will integrate with Central Square successfully. So the evaluation of the 2 candidates yielded the following result. We gave the 2 candidates a sample month of our transaction and asked them to price those transactions. And then we compared them with our current provider, Transaction Manager and Bank of America. So they gave us the price for the online payments and the over-the-counter payments. Under the Bank of America and Transaction Manager, for the month of July, we paid a total of $24,450.73. Compared to that, Paya gave us a pricing of $25,279. Or they will, if we go with Paya, it will cost us more $828.27 more. Candidate number 2, which is Paymentus and Elavon, gave us a price of $23,467. That shows that if we go with candidate number 2, that it will save the city about $983 per month. But our comparison did not stop there. There are other considerations that we have to study. For example, will both Paya and Paymentus work with Click2Gov, which is our current platform? The answer is yes, they will both work with Click2Gov. Will they be able to integrate with Central Square? The answer is yes, they will both integrate with Central Square. The important question is, will they integrate with Tyler, which we will be going into in the future? With Paya, it's a questionable, it's not certain if they will integrate with Tyler or Munis. But with Paymentus and Elavon, we asked Tyler to provide us with their preferred gateway and processor, and they listed both Paymentus and Elavon as preferred. We also need to know if they will integrate with our AutoPay system and with our IVR. Paymentus and Elavon will integrate with both. The integration, according to Central Square will need a 3,500 fusion if we will go with someone else other than Paya. And according to Paymentus, that cost will be waived. Central Square also told us that there will be a 20-hour implementation cost if we go with someone else. And according to Paymentus and Elavon, they have made this integration with other cities, and the 20-hour programming is not needed. We also reviewed another city's feedback regarding Paymentus and Paymentus. We contacted city of Leesburg. Although it's a smaller city than the city of Oxnard, they accept about 40,000 transactions per month, which is significant because the number of our utility customer is also 40,000 per month. And their review yielded to be positive. So staff recommends that the city of Oxnard go with Paymentus and Elavon for an annual savings of approximately $12,000. The agreement with Paymentus will cost $57,098 annually and is within the authority of the purchasing manager. However, there are 3 agreements with Elavon will collectively cost $318,000 annually and is not within the authority of the staff. Due to time constraints and pursuant to Oxnard City Code Section 4-75, we will ask the mayor and the city manager to co-execute the 3 Elavon agreements so that staff can commence the integration process. These agreements will require council ratification later.
Can we go to the next slide, please? Bingo. Thank you.
Our recommendation is that the Finance and Governance Committee recommend that the City Council ratify the 3 agreements: A-8268 for over-the-counter non-utility payments, A-8269 for over-the-counter utility payments, and A-8270 for online utility payments between Elavon Incorporated and the City of Oxnard for credit card merchant services in the amount of $954,000. The purchasing manager will sign the agreement costing $57,098 annually with Paymentus. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, I see no comments, public comments on this matter.
Correct.
Thank you. My fellow member, do you have comments, concerns?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I just wanted to clarify, Ms. Alamary, the fees for the cost is a flat fee, right? It's not based on the number of transactions. If you can clarify that. And then just wondering if there's a reason why it's 2 different systems that we know, one that is a gateway and one that is the payment processor, and if why wouldn't it just be all under one system? Just curious if that's if that information is available.
With regard to your first question, The fee for Paymentus is a flat fee of 45 cents per transaction, but the fee for Elevon, because they charge also, they charge their cost, plus they also collect the credit card fees, which is called the interchange fee. It is based on a percentage. Now, with your question about why are we getting two different systems instead of just one, Paymentus only function as a gateway, and Elevon only functions as a processor. They don't do both services. So we have to have a combination of the two.
Thank you. And I'm not sure if the chair might be asking this question or one of the issues that he has raised before about the processing fees. Is this something that the public is aware? Do they have the option of paying that fee? Or is that, I mean, is that even an option?
We are planning on going to the council in the springtime to ask for the permission to for the convenience fee or the processing fee to be paid by the consumers instead of the city.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember Lopez, thank you for remembering, because yeah, it's a good point, and it's a lot of money. And it is, as Ms. Alameri said, a convenience. It's a convenience. A couple of questions. Number one, can you please, I'm very impressed that you took the bull by the horns and you went out and looked for another option. Can you please, again, name the individuals that were involved in looking for that? Because I think they deserve some recognition. Thank you for doing that job for the city. It did save the city some money, and you took it upon yourself to look for something that the city's residents could get a better deal. Who were the individuals, and how did, it's 5, I believe. Could you please help us?
Yes, the team included Raja Bamrongpong from the IT department, Mike Schaefer also from the IT department, Horst Farr from the city manager's office, Martha Guerra from the billing and licensing department, and myself.
Thank you, and thank you very much. It's really great to see a great department this moving forward. The sense of urgency, they brought it to your attention. You looked for options. You didn't wait around for somebody to tell you what to do. It's a sign of a good leadership, and this is the city treasurer. You're doing a terrific job, in my opinion. The question that Madam Council Member Lopez asked, I am interested in that, because just looking at slide number 3, if we look at, I happen to have a credit card, and if I am spending, on slide number 3, please, if I'm spending that kind of money, I get, and I pay the bill on time, I get a cash back. Some credit cards give mileage. Some credit cards give, goodies, benefits. And those benefits are coming at the expense of the people that are paying payments and the interest charges. I mean, if I had a credit card and I was paying my bills off and I'm knocking down $24 million, I'd have no telling what I'd have. I'd be up to my eyeballs in hot water, probably, with trouble, good time trouble. But anything that we can do to help the residents of the city of Oxnard. And again, I want to thank Councilman Lopez for bringing this up and remembering. I'm looking forward to that in the springtime. I'm very, very grateful for this report, and very grateful to the initiative that was shown by the people that were involved here. Thank you. And those are my questions. Is there a recommendation or any further comments by a council member?
No, I will move the recommended action.
I will second that. Roll call, please.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member Perlo,
Yes, and I would just like to say, I cannot imagine the mayor, if he were here, there's a reason he's not here at this present time, not agreeing with this wholeheartedly and giving the same commendation to the people that took the initiative to do the work. Thank you very much.
the motion to approve carries 2-0.
Okay, going to the next item on the agenda, Finance Department. The subject, amendment to the existing city debt policies. The recommendation, that the Finance and Governance Committee provide feedback on a proposed amendment to the city's debt policies in resolution number 15359 to address bond continuing disclosure and compliance requirements and ensuring debt compliance, and authorize staff to present the item to the city council. It appears Mr. Riper will be making a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Member Lopez. This item is to address an audit finding, yet another audit finding. But this one's significant because if the committee approves the recommendation, it goes to council, council approves it, we will then submit it to the audit firm of Edie and Payne, and they will review our last outstanding material weakness from the audits from the 5 years of 2015 through 2019. So this is a big one for us. What I want to talk about this morning are just two items. I want to explain the amendment to the debt policies that staff is recommending and explain a little bit about how we're going to monitor compliance with our debt covenants going forward. So as I mentioned, this is a material weakness outstanding from the 2015 audit. This was finding number 91 in the 2015 audit, when the auditors pointed out that the city had not complied with its debt covenants by monitoring and reviewing the rate covenants for the water and the wastewater funds. So the proposed amendment to the debt policy that council adopts each June, along with the rest of the financial management policies as part of the budget, would add 8 different steps, hurdles, checkpoints, items for the finance department and a couple of other operating departments to follow. I won't discuss all 8 of them here, but I do want to point to the first and the third and the fifth and the seventh. One thing the finance department needs to do is make sure that the city manager's proposed budget each spring includes an annual appropriation of revenue sufficient to pay all the debt service, so that there is legal authority to pay debt service once the new fiscal year starts. The third bullet is obvious, but it's important. Are we timely transmitting principal and interest payments to the bank trustee for all of the different bond issues? Fifth, compliance with rate covenants. That's the item that the auditors with the 2015 audit called out as not having been observed in mid-decade. And then seventh, they're all for tax exempt bonds, and most of the city's debt is tax exempt, not subject to a federal income tax on the interest payments to bondholders. There are all kinds of IRS tax compliance requirements for tax exempt bonds, including the last part of that bullet, timely drawdowns. You are supposed to spend most of the bond proceeds within 3 years of issuing tax exempt debt, and all of them within 5 years. So that's something that the finance department and the benefiting departments, the expending departments, are going to have to watch going forward. So those are the items we are adding to the financial management policies in the resolution in front of you. How are we going to comply with this? Well, we've got a debt compliance group inside the finance department, which consists of a management accountant auditor, the assistant CFO, and the CFO. We've, with help from NHA advisors, whom you know very well over the last few years, our municipal advisor, we've created a master debt schedule, an excerpt of which is shown in very fine print on this slide, for every single bond issue and the relevant attributes for that bond issue and the bond covenants that have to be watched. This will be our master checklist, our master schedule to keep track of on a annual and perhaps even more frequent basis. The chair already read the recommendation, so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, I see no comments on this matter. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Fellow council member Lopez, do you have questions, concerns?
No, I think, yeah, thank you for bringing this forward and continuing the work to really improve the system in the city. So thank you for the presentation.
Yes, Mr. Riper, can we go to slide number 6? And if you could just walk me across one of the lines on the right side in the red outline, it's how this works. And I'm asking, this is why I'm asking. I do recall sitting on this council when it was brought to our attention that the covenants had not been honored and some part of the bonds that we had could be called. And Standard and Poor was on us, and it was a very, very, it was definitely not a good time here. This would allow us to follow what's going on, and any resident in the city to see how this is working. Can you explain that? Because I personally think if there had been something that said you had to have X amount of money in reserves to meet the covenants for the following year, and if that money wasn't there, it would have been a red light for somebody that knew how to read this, or if, without being a professional. Is there something like that that will be added to this chart? Because I think the easier it is to read and understand, I think the better it will be for the public, because not everybody's a professional expert. We're very fortunate to have them working for us. But there are people that call things out to the detriment of the public and the city, and they point out things, and not everybody's up to speed. If it can be, shall we say, third grade ability to understand what you're reading, I think it'll be helpful. Can you read across the line and explain how this is going to work?
Yeah, so this is Chair Perillo, an internal tool for the finance department. It serves as a reminder of what the attributes are for each bond issue. It's got the name of each bond issue, the dollar amount that was issued, how much is outstanding going into the year, what the final maturity is, a whole bunch of features of the bond issue. And then on the far right, in the red circled area, as you mentioned, the key covenants about reserve levels and rate coverage, and was revenue appropriated to pay the debt service. So yeah, you say third grade level, municipal bonds are grad school stuff. We're not going to be able to make this simple. I'm sorry. It's just it's a complex field, but at least we have a tool with which to keep track of everything, particularly if there's turnover in the finance department, as historically there has been. So there will be some institutional memory that's written down, not just in people's heads. That's how we'll use it going forward.
Okay, and it sounds good, but I would like to point out on the items, the wording that we're going to be adding underneath this, which I intend to support, the wording under letter F, record keeping and continued public use of financial assets. Under public use, I think that would be sort of like somehow explain to the public, either, periodically we meet all the covenants, we are okay, we got a, red light, yellow light, green light type thing, something's going on. I think that would also help. And I'm not trying to spend any more of the city's money, but just make it easier for people that have questions and one day decide they've got some time. So they look at this and they go, what am I looking at? That's my only concern.
I'm glad you called out that public use of tax finance facilities. That actually refers to a internal revenue code requirement that public facilities like the garage across the street, which are financed with tax exempt debt, must continue to be made available to the public for public use throughout the life of the debt. What would not be permissible would be for the city to attract a large private corporation to build a building downtown and then dedicate half of the tax exempt bond funded parking garage across the street to parking for just that private company. That's not allowed under the Internal Revenue Code. And cities, tax exempt issuers across the country sometimes get into trouble when they forget about that. So that's the kind of ongoing monitoring we're talking about when we say continued public use of tax exempt bond finance facilities.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, asking a question, not knowing the answer sometimes can be a problem, but here I learned something, and I hope a lot of other people did. Mr. Riper, I appreciate the work you're doing on this. And as you mentioned, there'd been tremendous turnover. I hope there's not in the future, because nobody else explains this kind of stuff as you and your staff do currently to me. Thank you very much. I have no other questions or comments. The recommendation of the council, of the committee.
I'll move the recommended action.
I'll second it.
Member Lopez,
Yes.
Member Perlo.
Yes.
The motion to approve carries 2-0.
Okay. We have, and again, thank you staff for this work. We have item E, items for future agendas. Do you have any items for future agenda, Madam Lopez?
No,
Councilmember
not
Lopez,
thank you, Chair.
sorry. Okay, we had a couple of questions for members of the public. And when we're done with these comments, we'll do one more shot at Mr. Wolford. The park master plan and Halico cleanup, I believe I believe they will be addressed. I do have a concern that I'd like to bring up, and I believe this is the appropriate time to bring it up under governance. We're going to be having a member of our elected staff moving on to other aims, namely our city clerk. And in the process of this, there some sort of acknowledgement of the services she's done. I was able to get a hold of the city attorney. He gave me the information that was approved in 1975 with respect to resolutions, commendations, plaques, keys to the city, bowls, sterling silver, all kinds of different things. I'm not trying to change the rules. I think that possibly maybe these could be accommodated, but there's a short period of time before our city clerk will be leaving. And I'm trying to bring it up, and I will bring it up to read exactly. There's a thing where it says commendations. I'm requesting that we have a commendation. Let me bring it up, please. I'm requesting that we look into a commendation for the city clerk, and why. In the resolutions, it says that you have to work for so many years here. You have to be a citizen that has done such great goods for the city, and we can do this. I will speak specifically on my behalf. On my behalf, I was elected to the council for an open seat when a member of the council ran for mayor, leaving the council with an empty council seat. At that time, there was only 5 members on the council. Currently, again, we're going to be facing the same dilemma. An individual who is sitting with term to go, as the previous individual, has decided to move on, leaving a vacancy, and the council will be dealing with that, whatever method that they do. We have a city clerk who has decided to move on, and she didn't quit midterm. She's doing her full term. But because of the time that she has worked for the city, apparently there is an issue with resolutions. But commendations, I do not see where it does not fit when it mentions that the mayor or a council member can request something, and this is why I'm requesting it. At the time, there were 5 council members. The city faced a recall. First time, 4 out of 5 council members going to be recalled, and it wasn't going to fall on the county. It was going to fall on the city. We had a new city clerk, bit the bullet, took the knife between her teeth, and did the job. And sometimes that knife between the teeth is a double-edged sword. Unfortunately for us, and fortunately for her, the county was able to see the quality of work that our elected official was able to do. And it's biting us in the back, because they've offered her a tremendous opportunity to move forward, to promote herself and her family and her future. And anybody that would not look a gift horse in the mouth and deny it is kind of nuts. So I wish her the very best. But because of the good works that she did, higher entities have recognized that, and some could say they poached our people, whatever. An opportunity was given and this person took it. I think they need to be recognized for the work that they've done as a council member, and specifically when the recall and the votes and the signatures and the initiatives and all the stuff that has been done, she and her staff were able to accomplish. And so I'm asking that be addressed and it be put together so that it can be done before this individual leaves, and the recognition to be done at a council meeting. And that's what.
So council member or chair, acting chair, thank you. As you know, this isn't on the agenda, so we can't take any action on it. However, we will work on getting that on an agenda to have a thorough discussion of the matter that you raised.
Thank you very much. And I also want to reach out and thank the city attorney for assisting me in getting the documentation that describes this. And those are my comments. Does the general manager, we'll take one more shot with Mr. Wolford. But while we're making a phone call to him, does the general manager or the city attorney have any comments on this committee?
No, and neither does the city manager. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Wolford, going to call you last time. Madam Clerk, we're calling him.
Yes, it says it's ringing.
Okay. In the meantime, waiting for being able to pick up.
Actually, okay, it wasn't picked up.
Okay, it wasn't picked up. Okay, thank you. Would like to wish everyone the best in the holidays, and for Christ's sakes, be safe and careful. We've just gotten information that some more people have tested positive. Ladies and gentlemen, this is no joke. And with what's happened in Los Angeles County, closing outdoor dining, there's a big concern. There's going to be a tremendous amount of people coming from LA County up here for the outdoor dining, which has not been stopped. And I can tell you, as a representative for District 1, there are some hot spots that are not following the directions. And I will personally take it upon myself to make some phone calls when this is happening again, photographs, and push comes to shove, I will push it, because there's no point in having people sick, and the ability to make something happen, and the elected officials that don't do anything about it need to be held accountable, whether it's the sheriff, board of supervisors, council members, whatever. Thank you very much. With that, this meeting is adjourned.